about the progress that we're making. I know that I live rent-free in the president's head, and I wish he would spend some time in Chicago so that he could see what a lovely city we have.
Governor, quick follow-up. What do you do if the National Guard is activated and comes your...
So I'm sure you guys have heard by now, the next city that Trump wants to send the National Guard to is Chicago, Illinois. And the officials, like the governor and the mayor, are all not happy about it. Now, you could probably argue that maybe this is government overreach. The federal government should be doing this. But at the same time, the whole point of this is to save lives. Chicago has the highest amount of murders by far of any city in the whole country. And we've already seen in DC, it's been, I think, 12 or 13 straight days with no murders, which is like a record. Like, it's been a while since it's ever been that low. So it's obviously working. Lives are being saved. So it's kind of hard to argue about saving lives and being on the tail, like the opposite end of that. But of course, in usual fashion, the left is doing that. So I'm going to dive into what JB Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson have been saying basically about Trump and how still to this day they're providing no solutions to the issues, because why would they? So if this is content you like, make sure you like, subscribe to the video down below, and we're just going to jump right in here. So this is Governor Pritzker speaking, basically trying to go after Trump.
Any federal official who would come to Chicago and try to incite my people into violence as a pretext for something darker and more dangerous, we are watching, and we are taking names. This country has survived darker periods than the one that we're going through right now, and eventually the pendulum will swing back, maybe even next year. Donald Trump has already shown himself to have little regard for the many acolytes that he has encouraged to commit crimes on his behalf. You can delay justice for a time, but history shows you cannot prevent it from finding you eventually. If you hurt my people, nothing will stop me, not time or political circumstance, from making sure that you face justice under our constitutional rule of law.
He said, if you hurt my people. Bro, your own people are hurting your own people. You've literally been the murder capital of the country for 13 straight years now. You and your mayor have done absolutely nothing about it. You just let it keep happening. And now, like I said at the beginning of this video, Trump is coming in trying to prevent that from happening. And you're going to fight back against that? Like, you're going to fight back because you don't want less murders to happen? Like, that's a really hard argument to make. But you have found a way to make that argument. It's honestly really impressive. And he said something funny. What was the thing he said funny too?
Any federal official who would come to Chicago and try to
incite his people into violence. He doesn't need to. They already are violent. Like, clearly this man has never been to Southside Chicago, because that's one of the most dangerous places in the whole country. And they all just like to ignore it and pretend it doesn't even exist. It's insane the way these people react to things, because their instinct is just, oh, we need to be against Trump. Not, oh, maybe Trump is actually doing something to try to provide a solution. Like, maybe he's trying to prevent something from happening. No, let's just be against Trump. It's insane. So here we have Mayor Brandon Johnson, who, by the way, has a 6% approval rating, which is impressive. I don't think I've ever seen anybody have an approval rating that low. Talking about how basically this whole move of Trump is racist.
We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence. We've already tried that, and we've ended up with the largest prison population in the world without solving the problems of crime and violence. The addiction on jails and incarceration in this country, we have moved past that. It is racist, it is immoral, it is unholy, and it is not the way to drive violence down.
So it's racist. You heard it here first. It's racist to try to arrest people, because we've arrested people before and crime is still up. Yeah, because there's a few things with that. One, a lot of times you just release them the same day or release them in general. You have soft prison sentences in general that don't keep people in there for long. And honestly, I've seen videos of people in prison. They have pretty good lives. There's no fear of them going back. There's prisoners that have like iPads, TVs. Like, They can have good lives in there. I've seen TikTok videos of prisoners playing basketball inside the prison. Like, it's like adult daycare sometimes. So there's probably not, like, they probably don't care if they get sent back there because it's not that bad of a place for them in their minds. So yeah, it's always the race card because they say that Trump is attacking cities or areas that are primarily black and brown. That's where the crime is. He can't help it that that's where most of the crime is, where most of the murders are in areas that are black and brown. Okay. If there's an area where it's mostly white people committing those crimes, he should go there too. But it does affect disproportionately black communities. And you know what sending the National Guard in there will do? He says it's racist. You know what it'll do? Save black lives. In DC, it's been 12 or 13 days with no murders. That's black lives saved because it's primarily black area. You're going to save black lives here. Especially, and I hope when he sends them there, they go to Southside Chicago. That area needs cleaned up bad. And people like Brandon Johnson will rather just pretend like it's not an issue or say it's racist when people talk about this issue. It's insane. Now, this is a great video here. So MSNBC did an interview with Brandon Johnson talking about if more troops would help bring down crime. They asked this question 4 times and this man could not answer it. And this is MSNBC. MSNBC does not like Trump. MSNBC is probably one of the most biased news networks there are out here. This dude, Joe Scarborough, can't stand Trump. But one thing that he has supported Trump on, casually, he hasn't been big on it, is his push to stop crime. He actually spoke out and said DC was dangerous. He has friends that agree DC is dangerous and that it's been cleaned up some. So they're actually giving pushback on Mayor Johnson here. Let's listen to how he answers these questions. It's crazy.
Would you also like to get federal funding to help put 5,000 more cops on the street in Chicago? Would that help drive down crime?
Well, look, policing by itself is not the full strategy.
No, I understand that. You've talked about the other things you want, and I said those are good and important programs, but I'm asking also, would 5,000 more police officers on the street in Chicago be helpful to go along with all of those social programs that a lot of cities are engaging in and having success with?
Well, look, here's the best way I can put it, Joe, is that in the 90s when I was in high school, we had 3,000 more police officers and we had 900 people being murdered every single year in Chicago. It's just not policing alone. Of course, we want more detectives.
I know it's not policing alone, but I know it's not policing alone. You've told me everything else you want. I'm curious, and this does come down to an ideological difference between people. Do you believe that the streets of Chicago would be safer if there were more uniformed police officers on the streets of Chicago?
I believe the city of Chicago and cities across America would be safer if we actually had, affordable housing. Look,
okay,
I'm not saying that we don't.
That's not the question I asked. My question is, and I just need the answer.
Now he's switching this to affordable housing because they're all killing each other constantly because they can't afford a home. Because if I'm struggling and I can't buy a house, I can't rent somewhere, I'm struggling to get by, I'm on the verge of homelessness, my first instinct is I should go kill someone. Because that makes sense.
No, do you believe the streets of Chicago would be safer if you got all of those other extraordinary programs put back into place, which do have a history of being successful, if that's complemented by having 5,000 more cops on the streets of Chicago?
I don't believe that we should narrow it down to just police officers, Joe, is what I'm saying. That is
He's literally not saying it. He's just saying, would it help? Answer the question.
Antiquated approach. I'm saying we've invested in detectives.
Mr. Mayor, are you hearing what I'm saying? I'm agreeing with you that all of these other social programs are extraordinarily important. I just need a yes or a no, and then this will be the last time I ask. If you get all of those other social programs that 800 million that New York City does, Los Angeles, other people do with great success, would an additional 5,000 cops on the streets in Chicago help complement those programs to make Chicago safer?
Look, we are working hard to make sure that our police department is fully supported. I don't believe that just simply putting out an arbitrary number around police officers is the answer. What I'm saying is policing and affordable housing. It's policing and mental and behavioral health care services. It's policing and youth employment. It's a full package. Of course, we want to make sure that our police department is fully supported. That's why I've invested in our Detectives Bureau, because what we have seen in the city of Chicago, when we solve crime, it acts and serves as a deterrent. It's policing and all of the other efforts that we're doing. Here's the last thing that I'll say to that. The federal government could work stronger to coordinate with my police department to get guns off the streets of Chicago. We've seen these coordination efforts work. Just a couple of weeks ago, the ATF working with my police department, we removed over 150 guns off the streets of Chicago that were trafficked in through Mississippi and Indiana. No one is saying that police officers don't play an incredible role in driving safety. They play an absolute pivotal role in that. But we have asked law enforcement to do too much. Police officers are being asked to be social workers, counselors. What I'm simply saying is, if we're going to build safe and affordable cities across America, the one thing that safe communities all have in common, they invest in people. We have a poverty issue in the city of Chicago and cities across America. Police officers alone will not put food on the table. Police officers alone will not guarantee a high quality education. Police officers alone won't drive down unemployment. We need all of it. The President of the United States of America and the federal government could restore Medicaid. They could restore SNAP. They could stop defunding our public education system. Here's the most important.
The funny thing about all that is, so first off, there is a correlation between poverty and crime. He's not wrong there. There's definitely a correlation when it comes to like robberies, carjacking, stuff like that, right? There's a correlation there. But the thing is, what's happening is you're letting this crime go on, and businesses are leaving your city. Businesses are leaving certain areas. So then what that creates is there's less employment opportunities for these people. There are less access for them to get food, to get anything they need, like pharmaceuticals, anything like that. So to fix any of these issues, you need to stop the crime first. If you stop the crime, the businesses will come back, then you can create employment, and then you can create everything else. As long as that crime's there, why would you as a business want to open up shop there? You wouldn't. It wouldn't happen. So to sit there and say like, yeah, I agree, other factors, I don't necessarily think they factor into the murder part. I think that's a whole different issue. But when it comes to crime, like robbery or stuff like that, I think poverty definitely is an issue. But he's dancing around the thing here, because he started turning it, if Trump didn't cut Medicaid and SNAP. Those cuts haven't been enacted yet. They actually don't get enacted until the beginning of 2027. So a year and a half. Chicago's had this issue since like the beginning of time. So to sit there and connect it to Trump's cuts in Medicaid and SNAP is so irrelevant, and so it doesn't even make sense. He's trying to turn it around and saying like Trump is creating this issue. You have ignored this issue, and then he's saying poverty, right? You're the mayor of the city. You're in charge. Do something about it if you think that's an issue. Try to do something about it. You haven't. So you're trying to pin this blame everywhere else. Bro, it's on you. And I would say maybe Chicago will wake up because he does have a 6% approval rating. But what we saw the last mayor election is that Lori Lightfoot had a low approval rating, and they just elected someone even worse than her. So then he'll probably get voted out, and they'll probably elect someone worse than him, because the city does not learn. Because I don't know how many of you've been to Chicago. There's a big divide. There's the very poor side, and then there's like the very rich side where the touristy area is, right? Like where the Bean and all that stuff. It's a big wealth divide there. It's kind of like DC. And most of those people who like pretend Chicago is safe, like all those leftists walking through the touristy area, have never been through the south side of Chicago. So they have no idea how dangerous it is, and nor would they ever step foot in the south side of Chicago. And people like Brandon Johnson will continue to ignore this, and the crime will still be high there. Murders will still be crazy high. Let me actually show you the statistics on this, because this is insane. So this is homicides in 2024 for all the major cities. So the left side is organized by total homicides. The right side is organized by homicides per 100,000. Top 20. Chicago had almost 200 more homicides than the next closest one, which was New York City. That's absolutely insane. almost 200 more. 573 people died from being killed in Chicago. And he's just acting like that's no big deal. They are roughly, 13th on homicides per 100,000. So if you want to argue maybe there's more serious cities to go after, then yeah. But Chicago is the murder capital of the country. It has a large population, and I think this is a good place to start. Now, you want to say, like, St. Louis obviously has an issue. Memphis, Tennessee, Baltimore, Maryland. I live right outside Baltimore. I can tell you firsthand that's not a safe place to be. So I definitely think Trump should do something about those cities too. But I mean, I think it makes sense to start with the murder capital of the country. 573 homicides. And what they don't talk about too is they try and say like, it's hard to hide murders and homicides when it comes to crime statistics. Like if someone dies, you can't really list that under another crime category like they're doing in DC. So in DC, they're relisting things. So there's certain categories the FBI tracks. There's certain categories the FBI doesn't. So what the police union in DC came out like a week or two ago and said that a commander will come on the scene and tell them either not to list it under anything at all or list it under something else the FBI doesn't track, which is insane. Also, there's incidents like the Doge worker, Big Balls, stupid name, who got assaulted for defending a woman. The people that got charged with the crime did not get charged with assault. He was beaten, blood all over him. They did not get charged with assault. They got charged with unarmed carjacking, which is a whole different category. So they can argue assaults are down because they're not charging people for it. There was a man on, I think it was Fox News, that was getting arrested and said he's been arrested 6 other times for the same carjacking he just did and hasn't been charged with anything. They just released him after holding him for 3 days. 6 other times. This is what these big cities do. They try to say crime is down, but really they're just not charging people with the crime or they're listing it somewhere else. And I guarantee if DC is doing that, which DC's been proven to do that, I guarantee other cities like Chicago are doing it too. So they're going to say crime is down, crime is down. It's not down. And their homicides definitely aren't down. Something needs to be done about that. And you can see right here, DC homicides per 100,000, 27.5, 187 last year. So that's what, 1 every 2 days. So by that statistic, so 1 every 2 days, it's been 12 days in DC with no murders. So roughly by that data, 6 lives have been saved because the National Guard's there. 6 lives. And they try to say it's racist. More than likely, it was probably black men that died, would have died in that time period. So black men lives are saved. You know, I just don't get the whole argument. Like, you don't have to be against Trump on everything. You can admit, yeah, we need help with this crime issue. We're having trouble. It's okay to say that. It's okay. People in your city will appreciate that. But instead, you have to take this mindset of, I have to be against Trump, even if it's something like good like this that everyone can agree crime is an issue. Instead, you're going to pretend like it's not just to be against Trump. It's disgusting. And you're never going to win an argument by trying to say that the crime is okay or acceptable or whatever. So that's all I got for this video. Let me know what you guys think about Trump sending National Guard to different cities. Let me know if you guys think about Chicago and Pritzker and Mayor Johnson. And what you think of the city in general, and what you guys think good solutions would be for this issue of crime in these major cities, and what can be done about it. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time.